Hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable RSC, we thank you for having you here for the closing. We're on the last leg, but as I walked up here, I got scared. I thought Zipline wants to put me inside there and jettison me away. I hope you're not going to do that, Zipline. Eh? I think I'm still needed here. Right. So as we come to the end of the 3 days, what is left to do is to reflect on quickly how it went, and then what are we expecting in the future. So to kick that off, can we have the clip, please? You can dim the lights a little bit for those of us. Sound. Can you increase the sound, please, a little bit? Okay. It's supposed to be longer than that, if I remember correctly. Okay, the tech is... Just because some people are on strike in Europe, it doesn't mean this should be on strike, eh? You know, there's some of you who came in without some luggage. You know, we really empathize with you for that. Let me tell you a story while they're working on it, you know. So there was this guy who got into a plane, and he was flying. I think he was going from the west coast of the US to the east coast, LA to... it's too bad. We'll continue later. No? Okay. So, as he's flying, the captain says it was a 4-engine plane. So the captain says, it makes an announcement, and he says, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry we've lost one of the engines, but it's all right. We can fly with 3 engines, but then instead of 7 hours, it will take 9 hours. After about another hour, the captain says, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry we've lost the 2nd engine, so now it may take another 3 hours in terms of arrival. After a while, the captain says, ladies and gentlemen, we've lost the 3rd engine, but we still have one. Instead of taking 7 hours now, it will take us 17 hours to reach New York. And then the passenger says, my goodness, if this continues and the other one goes out, we'll stay up here forever. Oh, thank you.
densely populated region in the world.
And thanks to every one of you. It was all teamwork from all of us. And together we can, I think. And this is for those who came in today who were not here from the beginning. These were snippets. And one thing I just realized, I used to see the regional commissioner wearing his cap, so I thought I'd wear mine. And I think I look cool in mine, you know. But not as cool as he does, you know, when he wears his. As we move along now, the next stage is to sit down and reflect on how we're going to move forward, the vision that is there. Can I ask Edward Anderson to come up, please? And can I ask Michael to come up, please? Michael, where are you? Yeah, please come up, sit over there. And can I ask myself to come up? Oh, I'm already up here. Okay, fine. All right, okay. I see my name there. So this session has to do with Michael will give his vision, what he wants to say, and then followed by Edward. And he's going to talk a little bit about next year. And then of the horse, they've nominated me to say one or two things as we, in preparation for next year. So Michael, karibu-san.
Thank you. With a couple of very intensive days, at least I have to process an incredible amount of information and data and think through of everything I've seen in a logical manner. I hope that leads me somewhere. So what I don't want to be the final hurdle on your way to peace and serenity, leaving this afternoon for too long, or for those of you who actually head back immediately to the laptops to do the work. So I will not give you a PowerPoint presentation, but I would ask you to embark on a journey into the not too distant future with me. Because in order to understand what World Bank and what UNICEF are trying to achieve, I think I will come with a little story. So as a kid, I was always very fond of trains. I always loved them, sitting in them, looking out of the window, running up and down the aisles, having my parents call me, "Stop it over there, come back, sit down." Even seeing them from the outside rushing by on the tracks was always fascinating. And if you think about a train company, imagine you would be the CEO or the strategic investor in a train company that's about to set up a new train service in a country which hasn't seen anything like this before. You will face an incredible amount of challenges. You will need materials, you will need iron, steel, tracks, electricity, diesel if you choose to run a diesel locomotive. You will need the power lines able to support your trains, and you will need a lot of human resources because you need the conductors, you need the spatial designers, you need the lawyers, you always need lawyers apparently. You will need the back office people to run your operations and management. And once you've decided which two cities to connect first, and you set up your train connecting these two cities, you will actually create something like a regional hub. The moment you have a running train service between two cities, other business will move in because they want to participate in this economic upswing. They want to deliver services to your company. They want to deliver services to your workers. And before you know it, you actually created something that we call the ecosystem. So what's an ecosystem? And I was actually surprised that I didn't hear it mentioned this time yet. So the ecosystem consists of a number of components. So it's a domestic market based on a regulatory system, including the key stakeholders, providing new commercial services by locally trained people. I think we heard a lot about regulation, and working closely with the European regulator and the FAA, I can tell you these are exactly the same questions wherever we are, which is fascinating because there is no north-south divide. We all puzzle about the same things when it comes to drones. The stakeholders, we all have them here. No need to count all of you. The stakeholders are on board. The new innovative and commercial services. I think we heard a lot about integrating drones into supply chain, using mapping, using data analysis to provide the basis to do infrastructure decisions, for example. And every single day I'm opening my newsletters, it appears there's a new use case on the horizon, how we can use drones to make our lives easier. So finally we come to the locally trained people. At UNICEF, when we started the drone testing corridor in Malawi, it was always envisaged as something like a test bed or like a giant sandbox. People come in, test the services, and as a next step, we would scale up. We would either use it in Malawi or on a global level. And when we started the drone testing corridor, it was always clear that the companies, universities that are incoming need to provide training for local people. So I will give you two examples of universities that came in and trained. So the first one is Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is a US-based university. They came in with Professor Kochersberg and two engineers, and we invited some 12 or 13 local students. And for 2 days, under the guidance of Virginia Tech, they were building the first drone. So none of them had ever seen a drone before, and after 2 days of bending and taping and putting in the rotors and the engine and hooking it up with mission planner and the GPS system, all of that, after 2 days they had their drones. And on the third day we took them to the drone testing corridor, and they bungee jumped the drones for the first time. So none of them had ever seen a drone before, but they built their own drones. And I very well remember the first one, rocketed up, took a left, crashed. Everyone's like, oh, how could that happen? But the next one from the next team, same one, go up to the left, couple of circles, belly landing, everything awesome. And the pride, to see the pride and the happiness of these students having built this drone was incredibly moving, and I'm still smiling when I think about it. And on the fourth day, we took one of these locally built drones, drove to a remote village clinic. There were, as normally when you do something in Malawi with drones, there are always people gathering everywhere, and they set up the bungee jump, the bungee cord, and it was a lot of pressure. And then the drone went up again, took a turn to the right actually, and went over 19 kilometers in a fully automated flight. And that was a drone built by local students, and I still remember the two girls actually who built the drone, shining because they achieved something incredible. The other university that did a very good training was Liverpool and Lancaster University. I had mentioned them on Monday briefly. So they are using drones to fight malaria. We all know what malaria is and how many deaths it causes. So they're using off-the-shelf drones to map areas, to identify water pools and mosquito breeding sites to guide vector control programs. And when they brought some 20 students to the classroom delivering their training, these 20 students who were used to sitting in a class with 200, seeing a professor somewhere at the back of the room displaying some GIS software and having difficulties to follow or to actually implement what they are seeing. So these students for the first time sat in the room had a real-life application with a real use, and Liverpool and Lancaster trained them on QGIS, which is an open-source software. And I think these two examples illustrate very well what's possible if we manage to have a knowledge transfer. And while it was always clear for the drone testing corridor that this would be ad hoc trainings, we always envisaged to have something more permanent. And we're getting close to the finishing line of setting up the first African Drone and Data Academy. So I very much hope that next time we meet here, we will already have the academy up and running in Malawi. So what is the academy about? It will teach students about drone basics, how to design a drone, how to build a drone, how to pilot a drone. The second big chapter will be on integration to the supply chain. I think I'm preaching to the choir. We all know what's possible here. And the third one will be drone-acquired data analysis, and how can we make use of all these maps and 3D models, be it in agriculture, be it in disaster preparedness, construction, or whatnot. So the academy will have a curriculum developed by an international partner university, and the aim is to have a full master's program up and running within 3 years. So every year for the first 3 years, we will have some 20 and 25 students coming from Malawi and neighboring countries who will get trained in these 3 elements, major elements. They will receive a full scholarship, and they will have time enough to devote themselves to their studies. And by providing these graduates, we will, for once, as a first example, we will support private sector companies. So I've talked to many of you of the drone companies that are here today, and I realize you need people who are trained. If you want to deliver services, if you want to earn money, you need people who are trained. It doesn't make much sense to bring in the Austrian Mzungu every time you need something. You need local capacity. So this is where we're coming from. The second one is public authorities, talking to the Department of Service, the Department of Disaster Management, maybe the Ministry of Interior. They're all hungry to use drones and to understand how they work in order to deliver better public services. And finally, it's about being a research hub. So if you have people coming in from Liverpool University or Kyoto University, and they want to do a research on certain aspects, they're able to hire students as interns or graduates as research assistants. And they will be able to drive forward the drones for good applications in Malawi and worldwide. Finally, we will be able to deliver short trainings as stipulated in national regulation. One thing that's important is business incubation. So I also hope that we will be able to provide support to those who actually plan to set up their own businesses with a business incubator. So the African Drone and Data Academy is a model that's designed for scaling. So while we start off in Malawi, UNICEF very much hopes that we will, maybe 1 year later, 2 years later, be able to do something similar in East Africa. Maybe in Tanzania, maybe in Kenya. At the same time in West Africa, and who knows what's next. So coming back to our example about the train company, if you think again what incredible challenge lies ahead of us, and if you think about all the stakeholders being present here, I really hope that the African Drone and Data Academy will take us forward in being able to tackle the challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael, for the vision of the Academy. And now, may I call upon Edward to tell us the vision from as to what we should expect for next year. Karibu, Edward.
Thank you, Engineer Mula. For those of you who don't know me, it's been a pleasure to work on this LVC with all of you. I'm the project manager on behalf of the World Bank, based here in Dar es Salaam. And I've been interfacing with the RC's office, with George's office, and with Tanzania Civil Aviation. So thank you for being with us. It's my pleasure to also tell you a little bit about what we're going to do next. A lot of people have questions. So I have a very short presentation. But really I want to start with what were we trying to achieve this year and where are we trying to go? The vision, it's big, it's bold, it's ambitious. it's nothing short of reimagining mobility at some point, right? But we need to be constrained by practical realities. We need to learn by doing. So we have this skeleton, this framework of what the Lake Victoria Challenge is. It's all of you, it's a community, but we think it's, it's a symposium and expo and the competition concept. We haven't had competitive flying so far. This has been a trial. So we refer to this as year 0 or the Lake Victoria Challenge trial. So if you go out on social media, please don't give the people the impression that LVC has happened. Year 1 is next year. This is very much a prototype of a build-up. But we also have these tracks, right? We believe that the focus is, we're learning a lot from pilot projects, but how do we scale the pilot projects? If we want to have user agencies adopting services at scale routinely, we believe we need to learn about the regulatory environment, as well as the technology of drones and the technology of drone traffic management, the UTM. And we need to think about business models and public-private partnership models for infrastructure. How is it going to operate when you have 100 drones a day coming into a hospital? What does that operation center look like? Who's going to fund it? What are the use cases? So understanding logistics, understanding use cases, and bringing users together with the innovators and the investors is going to be key. And as Michael just said, building capacity. So I'm very glad that in Tanzania, we don't yet have an African Drone Academy per se, but we do have the Tanzania Flying Lab. I hope some of you took advantage of their courses. I hope that we can bring them back next year. They're doing great things. So we've focused originally on LVC on the electric vertical takeoff and landing under 25 kilos system for a number of reasons, because we think this is potentially transformative when it comes to cost of operations, but also because we think that this is safer, a better place to start. A lot of the companies you've been talking to, you ask them, well, how much can you carry? I think all of them will tell you they have plans for something much bigger, but they're beginning with this category because we're very much in this learning the market, learning the technology, learning the systems. These particular drones weren't here this week. And we've introduced, with the partnership with WFP, this concept also heavy lift logistics. So there's a lot of discussion going on about, what does the future look like? Do you introduce heavy lift first, or small electric first, or both, and how will they mix? These are different products. They serve different markets, and I think they have different regulatory and business strategies. But nevertheless, it is part of this broader family of the LVC vision. And we have this fantastic host in Mwanza, this location on the lake, which is not just beautiful, but it is the epicenter of where we think business and markets will develop for this kind of delivery technology. So Juma Island, for many of you that have been asking, is really the prototypical island community. We're not committed to Juma, to the Droneport, to everything for the future. It's symbolic of many other islands we also want to serve. So we want to think about Ukerewe Islands, of which there are dozens, I think. And there are about 86 islands in the Mwanza region of Lake Victoria. But having this facility where we can actually do real live testing in a fairly complex systems environment, near a city, near an airport, operationally, with unpredictable weather, as we saw yesterday. So when we look at the whole lake, as you can see, the southern end, Tanzania, Mwanza, lots of islands, lots of infrastructure, lots of population, lots of facilities. We're really looking at Ukerewe as the possibility of the first commercially run drone corridor for medical deliveries, commodities, post. We haven't got concrete plans, but we're building we've got the foundations. The infrastructure track have been thinking about what does that look like for a drone port? What is the business model? The technology teams are showing what they can do. The regulators have been discussing how will this work if we go to scale. So this is our aspiration. We would like to invite you back next year and have a drone corridor going to Ukerewe. We may or may not achieve it. We need to work with you. We need to get feedback from the different stakeholders. But this is a much bigger market. There are 360,000 people in the Ukerewe Islands, 27 medical facilities. So here is the same map with the medical facilities, as you can see. And those red dots are designated hard-to-reach areas. And that's all within 50 to 60, 70 kilometers the furthest one. So it's within the capability of today's drones. The teams you saw today could service these kinds of routes. Next year, I'm sure they'll come back with more capable drones, so we can keep expanding our vision. And I mentioned the Droneport infrastructure. Again, this is a concept that needs to be evolved. We need to learn, but we're bringing the multidisciplinary approach together, and I think that's also what LVC is testing out here. So that's what the goal has been so far. It's been to learn by doing, to test the technology, to test the system, to try and implement world-class procedures, but then to convene and listen to all of you. Not just the drone teams, and not just the regulators, you're both very important, but also the users, the government authorities. What is the strategic plan? If we want to do this in 3-4 years' time at scale, what will it take? How do we implement? And that's the focus of the LVC. So one idea that I think we're going to try next year is the competition format. There will still be displays, there will still be trainings, we still have a symposium, but we would like to have teams shortlisted to compete for a particular prize or incentive around a particular use case. So we've defined the categories. They're on the website for those of you that follow us. I can show you a short video, but I cannot give you the final criteria because we're really here to learn from you, and so you're going to get questionnaires and surveys, and we have to put our advisory board to work. But let me at least introduce the 3 categories. The first one is the emergency delivery. Do we have the sound?
The Lake Victoria region are the most densely populated rural area in the world. But many of the 30 million citizens remain poorly connected due to a lack of transport infrastructure in this rugged terrain. This means essential products like medicines can be slow and expensive to deliver. Now, the Lake Victoria Challenge asks what could happen if we were to unlock Africa's lower skies using drones to transform the region's mobility and provide life-changing opportunities. The emergency delivery category of the Lake Victoria Challenge is one of 3 flying competitions featured at the event. It explores drone performance for the distribution of life-saving and valuable cargo, from emergency medicine and blood to precious spare parts for specialized medical equipment. In the emergency delivery competition, teams must deliver an emergency package from a drone port in Mwanza to Juma Island, a distance of 20 kilometers. Then return and safely land at the point of origin. No battery swap is allowed at the drop-off location. The team that completes the delivery in the most user-friendly and safe manner within the available time will be the winner. Whether it's a blood pack, snake antivenom, or a piece of hardware for a neonatal incubator, drones can change the lives of individuals living in hard-to-reach areas.
So for emergency delivery, I think you all understand the concept. Our teams are familiar. Everyone's hungry to know what the payload requirement will be, the weight, the volume, the type of material. We don't know yet. We're really going to be surveying you, listening to our advisory board, listening to our users. We want to come up with challenging technological criteria, but even more important, we want to be relevant to real-world users. We hope to attract the kind of demonstration that can implement a delivery pilot project. So it's really a question of matching a real user against these criteria. So please bear with us. I hope that by January we'll publish the criteria. The next challenge is the pickup, or the reverse logistics mission, as some of you call it. So with the emergency delivery, you can drop, or you can land, but you don't have to switch off the rotors. These criteria also have to be defined, but with a pickup, the landing has to have a much different process. So we're talking about smaller volumes, smaller weights, but a different conditions on the landing. And we're also maybe talking about different range requirements. So here's the next video.
Victoria Challenge is one of 3 flying competitions featured at the event. It explores how drones can be used to gather sensitive human and environmental material in order to address life-threatening conditions, countering disease outbreaks, or providing valuable information for development. In the sample collection competition, teams must pick up as many package modules as possible from Juma Island and return them to Mwanza in a set time frame. Several packages may be carried at one time. The team that safely transports the most samples within the allocated time will be judged the challenge winner. The people of Lake Victoria need to be connected, not only to better healthcare, but also to information that can facilitate faster diagnostics, treatment and care. The Lake Victoria Challenge hopes to transform how we collect human and environmental data, making a big difference in these rural communities.
So again, you get the big picture. We know the route, we know the destination, we know the mission typology. We will publish specific parameters and how teams will be assessed by the early next year. The final challenge is actually a mapping challenge, which we have not talked a lot about in the LVC, but we really have quite a lot of applications and a lot of exciting innovation in the machine learning, geospatial mapping, infrastructure monitoring services. And we did have a request for a post-disaster needs assessment and situational analysis mission. So some of you may know the Lake region was struck by an earthquake in 2016 in Bukoba, and this resulted in rural damages, a number of facilities that were hard to reach, to assess, as well as possible obstacles on the roadways. So when you imagine the WFP, the World Food Programme video this morning of roads being stuck because of post-rainy season flooding or bridges being washed out, this is that kind of mission category.
Category of the Lake Victoria Challenge is one of 3 flying competitions featured at the event. It explores how drone technology can gather instant data for critical decision making and perform safely and reliably beyond the operator's visual line of sight. In disaster scenarios, floods, landslides and earthquakes can rapidly transform a landscape, just when accurate terrain information is urgently needed for disaster relief. Drones are capable of mapping terrain rapidly at a fraction of the cost. In the Find and Assess competition, teams take off from the Mwanza Droneport and must successfully identify the GPS locations of multiple markers on Juma Island, then return to Mwanza after completing the survey. The team who identify the most markers and return safely in the given time frame will be the challenge winners. Drone technology can be instrumental in identifying damage in real time. For those coordinating assistance efforts, a detailed map can determine what infrastructure is affected and the best strategy to coordinate a convoy on the surface. Taking place in Mwanza, Tanzania in June 2019. Are you up for the challenge? Join us at lakevictoriachallenge.org. Keep Africa rising.
So I hope you're excited, and I hope our drone teams will apply, and I hope they will compete. But don't take these challenge definitions to heart too soon, because we're going to try and make them even harder. We're going to listen to you, we're going to listen to the users, and we're going to really try and tweak it so it's representative of a real opportunity in a real market that we think this lake region can implement next year or early 2020. So how do we do that? Well, it's not just about the competition. I think this is a way to bring people in. It's exciting. It's going to be mission-driven performance criteria. We've convened an international advisory board. So these are experts in various fields, not just drone technology, but also clean supply chains, biotechnology innovation, unmanned traffic management, and we're very happy to have Jean-Christophe Soufri with us here, who has led the technology track. Thank you very much, Jean-Christophe. And Jonathan Ledgard, who has also led the infrastructure track, esteemed members of the board. If you have suggestions for people that need to join who are willing to volunteer their time, because LVC is not a rich initiative, we're welcome to ideas. We want to add the right mix of expertise, but this board is really to help advise us on industry, on judging criteria, on technical parameters, on safety requirements, to make sure it's world-class knowledge that we can leverage. Oh, and Harrison, World Economic Forum. Apologies. Thank you for leading the regulatory track, if Harrison is here. There we go. We've also been working with development partners for securing the financing, which is extremely important. If you have money for LVC, come and talk to me afterwards. But not just that, to secure the knowledge and expertise around use cases. So you saw that the World Food Programme, the biggest logistics network in Africa, the 86 flights in the air at any one time, the millions and billions that they spend on travel and moving goods around Africa. So this kind of expertise on the logistics end, on the health supply chain end. So we're happy to work with UNICEF on Malawi Drone Corridor and globally on innovations, with John Snow Inc. on the health supply chain, with the World Food Programme. We are working already with the World Economic Forum, although it says draft on the MOU, but I think that's taken. And then also partners with drone associations. So you've seen these guys with the African drone t-shirts running around. They've been safety officers, they've been pilots, they've been trainers. We really welcome their appreciation. They're really leveraging and networking amongst African innovation communities. So next year when we convene, we really hope to have an exhibit, an expo, and a scholarships program for lots of young African startups. And we look forward to work with our partners to try and make that happen. And I've mentioned the Tanzania Flying Labs before. I should give a shout out to two of our donors who are not here today, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Denmark and the Korean Green Growth Partnership, which have made the LVC possible to date with financing for clean technology and for digital innovation. So that's really what we have. It's just the broad brush strokes. If you're hoping for the details, I'm sorry to say that you still have work to do. You have to come and work with us. We're going to send you a survey. We hope to collect feedback. This event was really a validation of the concepts and to help understand where the priorities should be. So please stay tuned, follow the website. A newsletter has been created. I hope that you're all automatically subscribed. Aerial Futures, where are you? Yep. So Aerial Futures are leading on this communications work, and I think we will include you all in that newsletter, or maybe you'll get an opt-in during the survey. So I think this is the beginning of creating a community that's following a common vision, that is bringing different disciplines to bear on what we think is a very exciting and fast-changing arena. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Edward. Mine are just two things as we prepare for next year. But there is one thing that I must say that was a bit unique. Yesterday, we had what the techies call the BV loss, or the Beyond Vision Line of Sight. And it's a drone flight it was a drone flight from the proximity of Mwanza Airport in an urban setting, and where we had spectators and the infrastructure at LVC and Malaika Business Resort, and the drone flew all the way to Juma Island, a typical isolated community. And this is the first on the African continent that was tracked, that had UTMS and plus technical gadgets in order to track it, follow it up. The control tower was following it all the way to the island. So for us, this was the first. So please give yourself a hand for allowing having that to happen. Now, it is important to understand that this happened. There was a lot of work behind that to get that to happen, for it to be the first. There's an MOU and the application to the Tanzania Civil Aviation Authority, and in the process there was a Lake Victoria Challenge Operations Manual that was created, and based on that it allowed for this flight to happen. It developed the operating strategies to be able to work on the lake region, which had very complex interactions and coordination that was supposed to be put together. The result of that now, it prepares us for next year, because it allows us to understand the interactions and interfaces between components of the system, the people, processes, technologies, organizations. And so this has been a learning process, and this is one of the first that we take from here. The second thing I wish to say is that the government of Tanzania thanks you, and I'm sure the Honorable Regional Commissioner will state that. But on behalf of all our, what you call MDAs, different ministries that were here, they are all in favor of this because it's, as the former Minister of Communication, Transport said, it's a game changer. It allows us to leapfrog in terms of delivering services to the communities that we think are essential, that need this kind of service. But then also as we do all these things, the government always reminds us that we should follow the regulations that are there, which we are going to do. But it's the ability and the need for us to have a mindset that allows for these innovations to happen, and I think the government is ready. And this has been shown with the leadership of the Honorable Regional Commissioner, Honorable John Mongela, in Mwanza here. Please, let's give him a hand for that, please. Showing that. Finally, as Edward was saying, this was laying the foundation, and I've been asked to make a statement, and this comes from the Postmaster General of the Tanzania Post Corporation. He was so much impressed with what you did here and impressed with the technology that he has decided that within the next 4 weeks, he's going to issue out a tender for the usage of drones so that it can deliver services in the functions that it does. So, if you're interested in participating in that tender for delivery of services, there's a lady standing back there with a camera trying to take a picture of me. Her name is called Nancy. Wave your hand, Nancy, okay? That is the lady to go to give her your address and contact. It's going to be a selective tendering process, which we in the government, we have to follow a certain process for that. We cannot single source. And then once the tender is ready, it will be sent to all of you who have requested to be given that information. So this is one of the opportunities that has come out of participating of this, and it's an initiative that we want to see move forward, and hopefully we can report back at the next event that we have on this LVC. So those are the sentiments. So in short, we are all for it, and as the clip said, let's work together, and we can. Thank you very much for that. As we move to the next stage, if I can ask the Honorable Regional Commissioner to come up, but the setting is not right. For the sake of balancing, please, can you remove that chair? I feel as if the stage will tilt to the other side. Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, we don't want that. So we come to the last session now, and this is a closing of we've been here for so long. Some of you are eager to go to your families. Some of you want to go to the game parks. You're welcome to do that. And I'm sure the Regional Commission will be very happy if you use Mwanza as a gateway to go to Serengeti, go onto the lake, do some fishing if you can. But to kickstart it off, if I can call Mr. Valerie Chamlunga. Oh, sorry. Michael, I need you down there and I need the reference. I didn't see that. I happen to be colorblind. Please come up here. Right. Thank you, Michael. This is Mr. Valerie Chamlunga. The Director General very much wanted to be here at the closing. That's the Director General of the Tanzania Post Corporation. But urgent matters called, so he delegated to his assistant to come and do the closing on his behalf. Karibu sana, Mr. Chamlunga, to come and make a statement. Njonge.
This is a closing speech by the Director General. He wanted to say something before you, but very unfortunate, he left you for Dar es Salaam to attend the other matters. Therefore, I will read as it is. Honorable Mwanza Regional Commissioner, Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Once again, I am pleased this afternoon to address in this conference. TCAA welcomes these kind of events since they are invariably bringing in evolutionary and often very educative atmosphere in civil aviation industry. I feel proud to be in your midst in the quest for improving the technologies in aviation industry and for community service delivery, and I promise to continue to be part of the dynamic nature of the industry. I would like to thank the organizers for considering participation of our National Civil Aviation Regulatory Authority. It is our belief that we will continue to cooperate in the coming days and months ahead of us in this endeavor. Honorable Regional Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, the role of TCAA is to ensure compliance with aviation safety, security standards, and recommended practices. In this respect, we will continue to work with our partners at local and global levels to ensure that the rise of unmanned aircraft technologies in aviation is regulated for the benefit of all stakeholders, especially users of airspace and the public. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, TCAA has taken interim measures to ensure that operations of drones and other unmanned aircraft technologies are regulated by using industrial-based practices. We have all witnessed here that ICAO, our global organization, is still working on establishing regulatory framework to be adopted by the contracting states. Whilst ICAO work is in progress, we have managed to draft regulations based on ICAO guidance, industrial-based practice, and our experience in drones operations. We will promulgate the regulations to our stakeholders in the foreseen future. Ladies and gentlemen, the current interim measures have aided to put in practice control of unmanned aircraft systems operations in the country, whilst ensuring that our airspace remains safe and secure for especially large and medium bodies commercial civil aircraft traffic. It is for these interim measures Lake Victoria Group Drone Conference Expo and Challenge has been taken place successfully. Ladies and gentlemen, at a regulatory level, we are aware of the potential security threats posed by unmanned aircraft systems. We are ready to offer assistance in facilitating the processes to enhance safety and security in a collaborative manner with our stakeholders notwithstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, I take this opportunity also to reiterate continued support of our organization in facilitating operations of drones and the other unmanned aircraft system for wider benefit of communities, especially in providing health services and the other social services of greater need. We have demonstrated our support and cooperations even in the situation of dilemma surrounded by regulatory challenges and void in international standards. I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that TCAA has been and will continue providing guidance and cooperations in operation of drones for health service delivery. To us, this is notable duty. We will remain vigilant as regulators, but at the same time, participating in promoting and safeguarding community needs. Ladies and gentlemen, I reiterate once again, the entry of new technologies such as the unmanned aircraft systems into market has imposed so many challenges in airspace use, organization as well as safety and security. In this respect, TCAA is braced to counteract these challenges in cooperation with our indispensable stakeholders. I am convinced that all stakeholders in the operation of unmanned aircraft system will continue to work together with TCAA to realize many social goals in Tanzania, Africa, and beyond. I believe we can exploit the technologies for the greater good. Our common goal is to ensure safe, secure, and efficient operations between unmanned aircraft system and manned aircraft system. Asanteni sana. Welcome to Tanzania. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chamlunga. For us, TCA is a very, very important stakeholder, and we're happy that they see the same vision as all of us see in order to make progress. With that, then, if I can ask Edward again to come and say a few words on behalf of the country director, Madam Bella Bird.
Thank you. You've already heard from me, so I'll be very brief. Just on behalf of Bella Bird, Country Director for the World Bank in Dar es Salaam, but also covering Malawi, Burundi, and Somalia. She articulated very well, I think, on Monday, why are we supporting the Lake Victoria Challenge and the regional government in Mwanza. It's really about that bigger picture. It's about the transformation we think East Africa and perhaps Africa as a whole is going to go through with its demographics. It's about youth unemployment, finding jobs that are fit for the 21st century. It's about connecting growth centers to rural areas for economic opportunity. It's accelerating the development that we already see happening through technological innovation. We're agnostic about the technology itself, the sectors that will come, we're here to learn. I'm not an expert on which drones will come up where, so this is why we're taking this approach to work with the different government agencies to create a platform that is a learning environment that is purposive, oriented towards social impact and economic opportunity. So I want to commend the government of Tanzania, the national agencies, the Civil Aviation Authority, the regional government, Regional Commissioner Mongela's vision, leadership, but also his team. We've been working very closely with Engineer Mulamula. Thank you, George. I think this would not have been possible without the broad-based coordination at many levels of government, at the local level, at the head of technical agency, and at the political leadership. So I want to say that the World Bank is here to support Tanzania in this journey. we anticipate there may be unknowns ahead. It's the nature of innovation, it's the nature of learning by doing. So we will be together through any difficulties, any surprises, any challenges. It's called the Lake Victoria Challenge. And we feel confident by continuing to work with your team that we will overcome. I think we have the foundation, the right partners, the right vision. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Edward. One thing I learned the hard way is that World Bank won't give us money, it's capacity. So we won't think about that for now. And thank you for your kind words. And now with humility, and I would kindly like to request the Regional Commissioner to come up and give us the closing remarks, the Honorable John Mongela. Karibu sana, Mheshimiwa.
Dear participants and guests, we have been here for the past 3 days, deliberating, discussing, exchanging ideas on the efficacy of using drones for economic and social development while solving our challenges. I wish to congratulate you all on concluding a first of its kind of symposium on this exciting and new field. I wish to also congratulate the organizers for approaching this topic in a multidisciplinary and original way. I am pleased to see so many of our youth and entrepreneurs sharing ideas and knowledge with global expertise. We have listened to talks about the fourth industrial revolution. Tanzania is industrializing. Key to our success will be the knowledge and skills for our young workforce. Science and technology, innovation, entrepreneurship are critical to our development, complemented by capacity building and skills transfer that needs to be nurtured for sustainability. It is clear that drones have captured the imagination, lit up the eyes of our innovators, and sparked the energy of our entrepreneurs. I know it has opened the eyes of our regulators and government officials. We have learned the tremendous potential these technologies can bring to our health sectors, supply chains, surveys, and other uses. But we should not rest there. Not that long, the African Union, through its Executive Council, has argued African states to harness the potential for drones in agriculture. So you can see there is a plenty of work to be done and plenty of opportunities for beneficial impact. I call on our own international guests to work with us in Tanzania. We are ready. You are all welcome. I can assure you that here in Mwanza, as we strive to have a digital inclusion that will spearhead the transformation of our citizens for the well-being in this 21st century. So I hope that we are on a journey. As we close, I want to express my sincere appreciation to the Civil Aviation Authority, DTBI, for their coordination of this event, not forgetting the support provided by the World Bank, Edward, Madam Bella was here, and the international and regional stakeholders, including the World Economic Forum. And I wish to recognize the work of the Airports Authority. The Director General has been here for all 3 days. Tanzania People's Defense Forces, Mwanza Regional Secretariat, Tanzania Flying Labs, African Drone Association, to all other partners and drone supporters, and pilots gathered here. I thank the government events of Lake Victoria Challenge 2019. I know there has been a few teething issues. Please bear with us, as not everything is 100% all the times. But we are striving to achieve higher than 100% in the coming event with the lesson learned during the 3 days and the prior preparations. For our guests from outside Tanzania, we wish you a safe travel back home. But feel free to sample our tourist attractions before you leave. And also take a chance to learn of more opportunities for investments and help taking you further and work together to promote Mwanza. With these few remarks, I now declare the 2018 symposium officially closed. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner, for those kind words of motivation. Mine is just to give one last little thing. There are one or two people that, from the back end, that need to be recognized, and I think it's worthwhile that they also be mentioned. First of all, at the government level, I wish to thank MSD. There have been a very good force in terms of coming up with the use cases for the usage of drones. So I want to thank the DG for MSD for giving us the support. At the local level here, I wish to thank the district commissioners also, particularly the Kerewe and the district director from Juma Island, and also the district commissioner from Sengerema. They've been with us all along, and of course, and the other team members that come from the secretariat. The other person, I think, even though it's not here, but he's not representative, is the Swiss ambassador, Ambassador Atamotli from Switzerland. He hosted a reception, and he's also looking forward to the next stage of this event, see what happens. I wish to thank the drones for coming here. I think we have Fly Pulse, Redetect, Stinger, Winter, and Wingcopter, and Zipline for coming. I think it's important to be here. There are companies like AirMap, Exponents, Invati, and Unifly. They also played a role in having this work turn out to be good. But more importantly, the people who did things at the back, people like David and Denise, who were working with the teams relentlessly and making sure it happened, and they are safe. Freddie from the African Drone for support of UAV safety flights, and I'm seeing the flights for us. More crucial, I think we need to acknowledge Rosa. She played the coordinating role for the past 7 months, and I used to speak to her. She was rushing on the train from London to the US, you know, and she was always on board when we came up trying to put this whole thing together and coordinating the teams on the ground. I need to thank Justina and Pauline and Devota for working with the government entities in ensuring that the protocols were followed all along. Gregor for working on the logistics for those who lost your luggage. It was Gregor who went around trying to find your luggage. Deo and David for all the boats and the airport tower support. Chris, the video productions, the clips that you saw, it was Chris Morgan and his team for doing that. And then there is Moawi, Nancy and Rashid from World Bank, and then there is a small Nancy from the TBI also played a role in supporting this. Lastly, but not last, I think we should thank Studio 19 team and the Malay Health staff, venue, and all the speakers and stages that was done. So let's please give a hand all of them for the support. I can't say the meeting's Asanteni sana. Merci beaucoup. Murakoze cyane.